I wake up later in the evening, like 3ish. Roy, my videographer, is downstairs. He's like, I think you're on TV. I can't understand what they're saying. Brave African girl. So I check my private line, which is just like family and close friends. It never blows up. Like that one, even my WhatsApp can be at 0 because it's very people who have it. But now it's jam-packed. I'm like, Conias, I hope no one has died. I see my sisters have sent the clip, the YouTube. I don't know who that runs that page, but they put that clip on YouTube. And now it's just gone viral.
Yep.
Like, I was just like, this is what viral is. And like everything is blowing up. I'm getting like media, CNN, hey, do you want to do an editorial piece? Do you want to do this? Nah, 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 nah. Me, I'm like,
all DMing you and all.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm meant to be. I remember even Oyunga Pala DMing my friend working at CG, what media house needs your number? Nah. It's just so much happening at the same time. And I'm like, imagine, I just want to shoot my podcast right now. I also don't want to be deported because now you guys are overreacting. Yeah. Just kanyagia the story until I finish and I'm out of this country and you can continue. But what I'll give France is they have an appreciation for the truth that we could learn a lot. What
about the Kenyan French embassy? Were they pissed off or?
No. So Larry was chatting me. Wow. You went to set everything on fire. Fantastic. And I met the ambassador, the French ambassador to Kenya.
Yes,
that's the right way. I met her that evening. She was like, great speech. That was wonderful. I was so scared because I'm like, now these ones are my advertisers. Sasa, nimeenda, I've ruined business, surely. But they have a culture that appreciates truth. That's why you see how they protest, how they fought for certain things throughout their history. And even the people who feel oppressed, because it's not a perfect country, as I said in my speech.
Yep.
The people who are oppressed, be it women, racial issues, are also very vocal about it. The change might be slow, but they are vocal about it. And so it was something. It was, that speech opened up so many doors.
In fact, I was going to ask you that, like, what was the ripple effect of that?
When we came back, first obviously the press then.
So what, you started doing interviews with French TV stations then?
No, so French TV stations used the speech.
Okay, I get.
Then there's like CNN, Reuters, certain were asking for blurbs and things like that.
And then of course they put the speech inside.
Then they put the speech in there. When I shared it on my Instagram.
That was insane. Another one, it goes again, part 2.
Part 2, it was just wild and I was so scared to share it. That I did, and then it just went, like, I was getting messages from Ghana, from so many different countries. Sometimes it was even just Africans sending a DM saying thank you. Thank you so much, which was very powerful to me. Then I got...
Especially, remember, I'm not saying we don't understand it, but we are not Francophone.
Exactly.
So there's an oppression that we... I don't even want to use it now. I'm not trying to be politically correct. There's something we don't understand about what they have faced.
Exactly.
And what they still face up until today.
Up to date.
Yes.
Yeah. It's still ongoing.
So for you as a British Commonwealth, under the British Commonwealth, for you to be vocal on behalf of other African countries that you're not part of, that's what I love. That's what my takeout was. I was just like, yo,
because we are together, we are one.
Yep, that's a Pan-Africanism. But I was telling you, did your mind click into it?
It's really clicked into it. And then after that I got invited, from that speech, I got invited to Zimbabwe for the International Conference on African Cultures to talk about demanding for our artifacts and objects that were looted during colonization to be given back to us. And this one was great because we were both colonized by the British.
Yep.
So it was powerful. The conference opened with us honoring our ancestors, something that I don't see us doing here. Zimbabwe is so misunderstood.
Yep.
I would urge everyone to, if you are privileged enough to travel, put Zimbabwe on that list of where you want to go to?
I keep saying my plan, if I was ever to leave Kenya to go to another African country, my plan was to go to Bulawayo in Zimbabwe.
Oh. Everything is it's, and the people.
Yeah.
It's so and you know why it's misunderstood? Because we, as other Africans, we relied on a Western lens to tell us what Zimbabwe is about. The
level of care, like true care, like one-on-one conversations with absolute strangers and feeling this guy cares for me and he has no idea who I am.
Absolutely.
That I felt there is like I've never felt anywhere on this earth.
And the people learning Kiswahili, so many.
That's crazy.
So many. You say you're from Kenya, they start rehearsing with you what they've learned in class. It's a powerful country. It's powerful.
So that's what opened up now for you to go to that's how you ended up going to Zimbabwe.
That's how I ended up going to Zim. I gave a speech there in front
and now
of
it became standard for you
to
go with. Okay, first of all, you went not just alone.
No.
You went again with Roy. Your videographer. Now that's standard. It's part of the technical rider.
Yeah. We're going to Dubai in a week.
While you guys are watching this, I could Dubai. But you said you went there to speak to?
And I was speaking in front of their president, in front of diplomats from Western countries, in front of a king from Ghana.
Whoa.
And it was different this time. I gave my speech. It was hard hitting. I think I'll share the footage with you.
Yeah.
But I literally was calling out. So I called out, not even called out, I said the truth about Western countries, saying they're not going to give us back those objects. One, because, you guys, so they looted these objects during colonization and then they put them in their
museums. Yep.
Inaccessible to Africans. Yeah. We're asking for them back. They're like, do you guys know how to take care of them? It is mine. Even if I place it on my head.
Even if you break it,
how am I negotiating with a thief? How? Until when I'm going to get my stuff back? You must be crazy. That's one. The second thing is they say, give us detailed records about which object belongs to which community to blah, 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 blah. You guys, those are migrated archives. You traumatized them and you stole those ones as well. How am I meant to know? How am I meant to know?
They actually this is what they are saying.
Yes.
They have the audacity to say this.
Yes.
Hey, this is another kind of looting.
There is a movie by a Kenyan called When Objects Speak or something like that talks about a Kikuyu object. They had to digitally show it to Kenyans because it's in a German museum basement.
Oh.
And they don't want to give it back. They said, you can show it digitally. Why? And this guy who shot it took it back to Kikuyu land and was stopping people to ask, what is this? What was this thing? People didn't know. Of course we didn't know because these things have been robbed from us and taken for how many years? And then these three men, they stopped three older men who say, this is what. We used to throw it over the fence or over the house like this to mean certain things. These were part of our identity. It's part of who we are, which is why we're going through an identity crisis as Africans.
Huge.
We don't know who we are, and huge chunks of that have intentionally been kept away from us. And then these people want us to negotiate. How do you negotiate with a thief for your things?
Please allow me to call upon Adelle Onyango.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, King Akoto III, and all distinguished guests, all protocols observed, good morning. It's my absolute pleasure and honor to be here with you today. It's my first time in Zimbabwe, and this is a very important occasion for me. So my name is Adelle Onyango, and I am from Kenya, and I am from Africa. In the past few months, I have asked myself, why should I be included in conversations around restitution of migrated archives, human remains, objects, African cultural heritage? I asked myself if I know enough to be seated at this table with you, if I'd studied enough. All of these questions dance around what I think I am and who I think I am.
and who I am as an African. What is my identity? While interrogating this, it has dawned on me that as Africans, we're all going through an identity crisis that was intentionally birthed by our colonizers. Think about it. To conquer that which you deem to be more powerful than you, you've got to convince them that they're in fact less in power when it comes to comparisons. And how do you do that? You erase any parts of their story that paints you as a villain, and instead ensure that their story paints you as a hero, as their hero. You erase any stories about their communities or historical figures who may remind them of their power. You erase or loot any objects that were symbols of their power, symbols of their identity. When you erased all of this, you're left with gaps, or as our colonizers saw them, opportunities for them to put their stories. So in our schools, we learned in their languages about their stories. We learned of their God and reduced ours to witchcraft and evil rituals. And when we learned about our historical sites in our countries, we learned of their new non-African names given by the colonizers. We also, and most importantly, learned the false narrative that colonization was actually a rescue mission, rescuing us from our backward traditional ways. We never learned about the murdering. We never learned about the rape. We never learned about the looting. We never learned about the divisive tactics that our ancestors experienced in the hands of colonizers. We never learned about our power, and we definitely never learned about our identity. And for decades, and even now, it worked. As Africans, we believed and we still believe that we are inferior, that the little understanding we have of our ancestors and how they did things were ineffective and backwards. It worked, and our battered self-esteem is a testament to that. You see it in how we automatically perceive anything and anyone un-African to be superior, and how we perceive anything or anyone African to be inferior. Because we do not have an understanding of who we were before colonization, we define things like power, wealth, intelligence, beauty, ambition, success, based on the intentional harmful conditioning that we experienced during colonization. But this state is uncomfortable and it's very unsustainable. And so we have started in forums like this to question our sense of self, our place in the world, our identity. This stage we're in is called an identity crisis. What I think I am, who I am, and inevitably, these questions will lead you to your roots. They will lead you to those who were here before you. What were their traditions? What did they eat? What languages did they speak? What social structures did they live within? What names did they have for each other and for their various communities? Did they pray? And if they did, to who and how? What did they look like? Most of the answers to these questions are centered on what the world calls objects. But I believe this word reduces their importance to us and their importance in our story and in our identity. They are cultural symbols, gateways to our past, unifying figures to our African heritage, a huge percentage of which were looted from us violently and are seated in museums in foreign countries that are inaccessible to Africans. The longer they sit there, the harder it gets for us to re-educate Africans, both young and old, about these cultural symbols. That we have to negotiate their return with those who stole them births doubts in the validity of apologies that we seem to be getting from colonizers. And it raises the question, did colonization really end, or did it take up a different form? did it find African leaders to help further its destructive agenda? To the various diplomats here, representing countries from the West, do not try and break this continent any further. The excuses behind your countries refusing to return what is ours is insulting. The denial that a huge percentage of these symbols were violently looted is insulting. The fact that they are housed in your museums, which are inaccessible to their rightful owners, is insulting. There is a battalion of young Africans, fueled by the spirit of their ancestors, who will not let you or who you report to keep insulting us. It's time for you to stand on the right side of history. To our African leaders and organizations such as the African Union, you hold the pursuit of our identity in your hands. Are you willing to spearhead the demand for the core of our identity to be returned, or is it easier for you to try and negotiate with thieves who did not negotiate with our ancestors? Because what is at stake, you ask? Our languages, our stories, and our identity will die with your generation, leaving us, young Africans, broken enough to be conquered once again. To my fellow Africans, be gracious with yourselves as you unlearn. But especially now, we must consistently refuse to reduce who we are and demand for everything that constitutes our identity. Thank you.
So I did that speech. And then in the evening, the organizers are like, hey, the big man wants your speech.